Guys, very few news outlets are talking about this one. In the last 24 hours, 3 individuals crossed the Gaza-Israel border on land. Their mission? Break the blockade of Gaza. Here's the mad twist though. It was 3 Israelis crossing into Gaza, not the other way round. What the hell, Muffles? What you want about it? Well, sit down for this one because it does get very, very interesting. How I describe things as interesting. I talk about geopolitics all day. You know that, right? So my interesting, your interesting might be. Anyway, Itamar, not Ben Gavir, Itamar Greenberg, Roman Levin, and Roy Elani, 3 Israeli activists, crossed into Gaza over land as at the same time as the Sumud Flotilla was attempting to reach Gaza by the sea. They shared the same goals as those on the Sumud. These Israelis wanted their government to stop the siege on Gaza and end the war. Check this out.
We broke into Gaza yesterday, and 3 of my friends are now in jail because of it. Itamar Greenberg, Roman Levin, and Roy Elani. Behind me is the Beersheva District Court, and tonight was their first hearing, and the judge decided to leave them in jail for the night, and tomorrow there will be another court hearing. These 3 people are fighting against genocide, against apartheid, and for our collective liberation, and of course they're being punished for it. So I ask that we all call for their collective liberation. Free Itamar Greenberg, free Roman Levin, free Roy Elani, and free Palestine.
That's the news. Bye-bye. Busy bees who need to jet off. I thought it was interesting. Thought you would want to know about this, which you probably don't if you rely on Western media. But if you have a drink at hand and a few minutes extra, here's the analysis. And it really is pivotal, what we're talking about here. So strap in. It's not going to be a bumpy ride, though. It's quite chill, actually. I feel quite mellow this morning. Israel is struggling to maintain course. It cannot continue the war in Gaza without further deterioration of their diplomatic standing, and it's already obviously in the trash, their diplomatic standing. And it cannot seem to win, which is the other option Israel, you would think, have. They could try to overcome the resistance fighters in Gaza and completely take over the territory, but they seem to be unable to do that, or unwilling to take the losses that would need to be incurred to do that. Now, there's pressure from Trump and America on top of everything. There's pressure from Israel's neighbors and nations across the world. And there's even pressure to end the war on Gaza by Israel. There's even pressure from Israelis. Not many people know about this component of the pressure that the Israeli state is under. And that's where pressure from the Israelis is where these 3 young lads come in. They represent a minority, yes, but a growing number of Israelis that are in opposition to Israel's war and crimes in Gaza. They demand an end to the fighting. And some groups in Israel demand equal rights for Palestinians. Israelis demanding equal rights for Palestinians. A sort of one state, but not with an apartheid system, with a 2-tier citizen system like there is now. It's really weird. Or it's really odd, you could say, is for a category of Israelis. For the majority of the people of the world, you probably don't know that there's Israelis like this, even that want nothing to do with the war crimes and don't buy their own state's narrative. But they do exist, and their numbers grow as Netanyahu is seen by more and more Israeli citizens as caring only for his career, and some say his expansionist ambitions sit at the top of his priorities. Many say he doesn't care about the hostages because he says one thing about the hostages, but his actions betray that he doesn't give a damn. Now, here's the really mad part, though. Itamar bin Gvir, Minister of National Security for Israel, and others in the current Israeli government coalition are unhappy that Netanyahu is considering an end to the war, an end to the fighting with the Palestinian resistance in Gaza. They want the resistance wiped completely off the face of the earth. So now, take a sip of whatever you're drinking maybe and think about what the Israeli state is facing. More, a certain group from one side are saying, no, completely wipe out Gaza. It doesn't matter the cost. You need to get rid of these people. You need to get rid of these, whatever you label them, to dehumanize even civilians at this point. That's what the right wing in Israel do. But then you have the other side. You have Israeli citizens saying, we need to stop the war. This cannot be what our country is known for, what our country is remembered for. Many would say is well past too late. But they're trying from the other side. And the Israeli state is caught in the middle between 2 very, very different situations. So Israel is internally torn between these two extremes, rapidly growing isolation from the outside, and now its chief ally, America, is heading for the door, as it were. Trump, I think, very recently says, Netanyahu will. I'm paraphrasing, but the sentiment is there that Netanyahu will follow what I say, not the other way around. Now, I made this video where you're listening to now, to help people understand that no country is a monolith. There are Israelis that have been drinking hasbara for so long, it's the only flavor they know. And even they are being, some of them, are being red pilled out of the hypnosis in record numbers. And then there are, especially among the youth, those who immediately call BS on the state narrative of Israel, much like how the youth anywhere, the UK, the youth in Nepal, the youth in Bangladesh, anyway, naturally, the youth are more skeptical of the state narrative and look for sources of information elsewhere as well, like TikTok. They see what's going on in Gaza, the Israeli youth especially, and they ring the alarm bells. Some ring them loud. Itamar Greenberg, Roman Levin, and Roy Elani tried to break into Gaza for the same reason so many people oppose what's going on. They disagree with what is being done in Gaza by the Israeli state. They were quickly captured, mind you, by the Israeli forces, and the Bir Shiba or Bir Saba, as the Arabs would have originally called it, the Bir Shiba district court allowed them to go home. They're now under house arrest. I thought it was an interesting news piece to share. Very, very unlikely you'll hear this almost anywhere else. So, for the unbiased news and analysis without the Western spin, I'm Mahfuz or NewsBaba, and I'll see you on the next one.